Hey guys and girls, just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Buzzsprout. Start a podcast today with free podcast hosting for Buzzsprout, easy podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. Buzzsprout is the best way to publish a podcast online for secure and reliable hosting to full iTunes support. Get started for free, no credit card required, cancel at any time.
Stats for losers. That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is.
You play to win the game.
Welcome to the Airin podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Airing It Out podcast. It's Dustin Marion, your host as always. I am blessed and honored to have the always handsome and dapper Josh Booty. What is going on, Josh?
Man, not a whole lot. Just getting ready for a golf event tomorrow. We got 15 guys coming in from Texas, and I got to take them to Doral down in Miami to play some golf. But
dude, your handicap must be amazing. What you do? I'm not trying to take shots, but you golf a lot, bro.
Right now, work it down, so I can actually win some money off some people. But
I got to get on your guys' level, man. I stink.
It's fun. I love golf, man. My mom's first cousin is a PGA champion, David Toms, played at LSU. Wonderful golfer, top 12 money list guy. We grew up, watching Toms, but I wish I was playing football and baseball. I never went to the range with the guy. I wish I would have played golf as a young kid, but I was so involved in other sports. But now, man, I've fallen in love with it. It's
an amazing sport. I tell you, when you're talking about being a supreme athlete and playing football and playing baseball, it really goes to show you how difficult the sport is. The ball is so small. If you take your eyes off of it for 1 second, you miss. It seems, or it gets advertised as like, an easy sport, but there's nothing easy about that thing, man. Walking 18 holes and doing all those things, that thing is intense, man. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun, even if you can't play.
Big time. It's like one day you go out and you drive the ball well, and then you can't hit an iron shot on the green, or you can't make a putt. Like every day there's something different that is not there. For these PGA guys, that's a different world. Those guys are out in the world. They're ungodly players, and they're consistent. But if you're an amateur player and you don't hit range balls every day, and you don't go play and practice, have a coach, watch film, see yourself swing, make all these changes and understand the game, man, it's just like you only really, can be so good. And that's what's difficult for amateurs, to go out there and think they can shoot 70 every day or something like that, unless they're hitting a lot of balls.
And also, too, before we segue, I mean, you do get inclement weather, right? The greens play one way or another. Sometimes they're slick and fast. Sometimes you didn't get rainfall in this particular, area for a few months, and it's really dry, and you got to hit it harder. I mean, it's a super, super, super complex and diverse game that I don't think enough people really understand how competitive it is. And the thing is, you're your own worst enemy. I know you're playing somebody else, but you're playing yourself. If you mess up, that goes against you. It's not like, with maybe other sports, you get a chance and you got guys backing you up. You don't have to make all the catches or all the hits, It's a phenomenal sport. As I've gotten older, I've really, really fell in love with it. I actually live right across the street from a golf course, and I've been on pins and needles to go out there and play. But it's a phenomenal game. I thank the heavens that a gentleman like Tiger Woods was able to introduce it to a whole new generation of players.
Mm-hmm. He's my favorite, maybe athlete of all time. I enjoy watching Brady and some of these football guys, Deion Sanders in the past, Bo Jackson, dual sport guys. But I'm telling you what Tiger did for golf is unbelievable. And you're right, when to be really good and really consistent in what he did, his consecutive cuts made streak is maybe the greatest streak of all time. And I talk about that on Sports Talk Radio all the time. And it's like, when you go out and watch these amateurs play, they might be good at their course because they know it. They know the greens. They know how the ball's going to move around. They know what clubs to hit, but then their game doesn't travel when they go somewhere else. But to be like a guy like Tiger and to play all those venues and everybody's watching him and never really have a bad day and make all those cuts is just out of this world. I think is one of the best best runs of all time in sports history.
For sure, phenomenal. I mean, the guy, there's not enough that could be said about how amazing his game was. I mean, he took people that weren't even watchers of the sport and converted them into watchers, right? Like, imagine how much dollars and cents he brought to the game.
How many jobs did he create in golf courses? They changed the course, Tiger-proofed them, but they also added so much more golf courses. I mean, all these new brands came into play too. I mean, all these guys are benefiting from what Tiger, the ground he plowed for those guys, and they're making big checks now because of the money, the financial part of it that he brought to the table. He took a gentleman's game and made it just a monster money game, and you can see now these guys are just making hand over fist money. The top guys, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's unreal. Speaking about a player that, when you're in your zone, you got to be kind of left alone. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but I wanted to get your opinion because you played both sports and you played both sports professionally. What were your thoughts about Tampa potentially maybe not making the best decision with taking this gentleman off the mound? And you were just telling me off air that momentum builds when you see a guy that's taken out and you're like, okay, now we got a fresh start. We got all the analytics on this dude, and we're gonna go start hacking away again.
Yeah, he was super impressive, and he had gone through the lineup several times and just absolutely cut him up, and then they decided to take him out after one mistake, I think a hit or a walk. It was a hit, and it was a guy on first, but he was about to face 2, 3, 4 in the lineup, and he had dominated those guys. And I promise you, when they ended up making that decision to take him out, the bench for the Dodgers had to be ecstatic because they weren't sniffing this guy. And he's a former Cy Young Award winner too, so he knows how to pitch in big games. He's been around. He's super successful, super experienced guy, and he was just carving up. He was having one of probably the best days of his life. And so you have to be upset if you're him that you're going to get taken out. But the whole momentum shift of sports games, in that particular scenario was incredible because you could see life kind of they started getting up for those at bats and understanding that now we have a chance. And it's like, before they even got the first hit off the reliever, you could tell that, and I'd been in those situations before, that they had a new lease on life, and that's pretty unbelievable when you start to think, okay, momentum could go back our way when it was almost like their back was against the wall totally with Snell on the mound.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. It's crazy. During the season, it doesn't seem as much that the manager creates that much value. But in these games, when it's all or nothing or go home, a decision can go one way or another. I think it made me remember, I don't know if you remember this, but that Cubs World Series and Tony Francona and Joe Madden just kept making managerial mistake after another. It almost seemed like both managers didn't want to win the game. In your experience, is there a portion where the manager might potentially overthink some of the decisions?
I think so. I talked to Kevin Millar, who's Intentional Talk, Major League Baseball Network, one of my best buddies, and we talked after the game and before the games and in between games and all this, and we talked about the different things. But there's so many things in the middle of a big ball game that nerves can take control of decisions. It's like in pressure situations. You're getting blitzed in the pocket if you're a quarterback in the NFL. In the playoffs, the crowd noise. There's just so much stuff happening. It's like, how do you dissect the pressure and make the right decision when it really matters? And that's what makes there's a difference between champions and second place. Just on that one factor alone is how do you deal with maybe the plays that aren't there, or a situation that you've made 100 times, but this time you had a gut feeling to go the other way, and it was maybe a bad decision. I mean, it's sports. That's why sports are so amazing, and why we watch them, because there's a different outcome done a different way almost every time you watch a game. No two games ever been the same. So it's like these guys are in the pressure situations that they might not have been in. Tampa Bay doesn't go to the World Series. They're not that deep in the playoffs often. Then they got a situation where he made a gut decision and made a bad one, but that guy goes in and carves, and it could have ended up the other way. So I mean, it's fate sometimes, and then it's also nerves sometimes.
That's why I think I enjoy the NFL so much, because an 0 and whatever team can come in and smoke an undefeated team. And that's, again, the interest about sports. For football, they've coined it any given Sunday, but you just never know, right? It's just about showing up, being prepared, and being ready for that situation. Speaking of that, I wanted to also get you, before we go to the NFL, Mookie Betts. Is this guy not the best thing since sliced bread in MLB? I mean, he's got the attitude, he's got the stick, he's got the glove, he runs bases like nobody's business. His defense is unbelievable, and what he brings to the ball club is just unreal.
I mean, he's already won 2 World Series. I mean, the guy's he's different on 2 different coasts. I just think, I watch him in interviews and stuff after ball games. I'm like, this guy's so solid, so mentally he's got an edge somewhere. You talk about the Tiger Woods or the Tom Brady's, but this guy's got that mental edge where it's just, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm going to do, and he goes out and does it. There's no overthinking. There's no pressure that gets to him. You can tell even like with Alex Rodriguez, and I love Alex. I played with him when I was a kid and growing up, known him forever. But in New York, he put added pressure on himself, and you could see it almost. You could see it with your own 2 eyes, the pressure he was feeling. And he got over some of that, and he got through some of that. But Betts plays like free as a bird. He's a young superstar. There's nothing that's bothered him. He's already won the big one. Now he's already won the big one twice. I mean, the sky's the limit for a guy like that because he doesn't have any holes in his swing. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got pop. He hits the ball where they throw it. And he doesn't put added pressure on himself. I love the way he plays, and he's a phenomenal young player.
Yeah, I think that we're very lucky and blessed to watch this guy play live, because, man, if any team had 11 guys like that or 9 guys like that, you'd win a championship every single year. I mean,
yeah.
Unbelievable. Kudos to the Dodgers for really putting an amazing lineup together. All of those guys are just unreal. But I don't want to stay too long on the MLB because the season's over. But speaking about guys, I wanted to start out with this. I'm sure I know what you're gonna say, but did the Dolphins put Tua in a little too early? I know they got a W this weekend, but should they have let the old man still cook back there and let Fitzmagic do his thing, because he was playing well. And then I seen after the presser, he talked a little bit about the NFL business, and I know they have a lot of money into it, but is it too early?
I like what I saw with Tua. Fitzmagic has been great too, but I think Tua's the future. So it's like, how do we blend ourselves into the future with a young team, a young head coach a great head coach that everybody loves, players love him.
He's
very
amazing.
Athletic, and it's so they're very athletic. And this new age of the RPO and the spread and all that, it's like maybe he gives them a better chance long term. That's for sure. So I think they want to get him in there playing in some ball games, especially during this COVID year with no fans. It's a little easier to adjust maybe to the NFL game when you're not having to deal with a lot on the road and a lot of extra, stuff happening around you. I mean, this kid could be very, very special. And you look at guys that are ruling and reigning in the league like Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, and Tua's got some of that. He's got some magic because he can throw bullets, he can throw deep balls, he's got a real live arm, but he also can move and make decisions. He's a passer first, which I like, and that's what Kyler and Russell are, passers first. They only run when the play's not there. And there's quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson that actually run even if the play is there. So they're 2 totally different animals. But I like with these schemes nowadays in the NFL, a quarterback that can run but thinks pass first and then legitimately can go pick up first downs with his legs. Those are ultimate weapons.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Miami is going to bring future forward to the table, because they might have their quarterback, and that's amazing. Speaking of magic and speaking about guys who just get it done in the pocket, this guy Joe Burrow, man, wow, huh? I mean,
yeah.
he's already. I mean, first of all, I wanted to say was I'm sure you watched a lot of the games. Their record could be way better. They were in tight games. They should have beat basically the Browns twice. They should have beat the Chargers. They've been in every game except the Ravens game. I mean, they could easily be 5-2. This guy is and they're loaded. Whether it's the new 85 they got, whether it's AJ Green, they got some other young receivers, they got a tight ends. I mean, they're stacked. That coaching guys up there know exactly what they're doing, and they're calling great plays. Joe Burrow, he's the real deal, right?
Yeah, big time. He's fun to watch. He's fearless. He throws guys open. He anticipates. He doesn't let the rush affect him. He's athletic, way more athletic than people give him credit for, maybe, or they don't talk about it as much. I followed him all the last few years at LSU because I played at LSU and care about LSU. So I've watched every game broke down. I cover LSU. So, I just think Cincinnati's had some defensive failures in second half of the ball game. But they put him behind the eight ball. He's having to score a lot of points. He's thrown for a lot of yards. But at the same time, his progression as an NFL starter in year one is just insane. I mean, he's thrown for 300 yards every week, 300 plus every week. He's on a mission, and you can tell he's on a mission. And I like his competitive nature, the vibe, the energy. He always looks clear-headed. It's like some quarterbacks you can see, get flustered. He never looked flustered. Even at LSU, he's never looked flustered. Always like he was on top of his game or on top of what was going on. And I think he's a leader, man. I really do. I think there's so many good intangibles that he brings to the table. He was a fifth-year guy, was with Urban Meyer at Ohio State, transferred down to LSU, won a national championship in the Heisman Trophy. Everybody saw that last year. But so he's played – I mean, he's been around some really good coaching. His dad was a defensive coordinator. He's tough-minded. I just like this kid a lot.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I wanted to ask you, I don't have this in our show notes, but have you seen, is the team taking care of him back there? Because I've been watching a lot of quarterbacks run for their life this season, and I haven't had an opportunity to really zero in and dial in on Cincy. But are they? Is he taking bad hits? Is he at least, because he's a smart dude. He knows when to get rid of the ball and when not to. I just want to make sure that they're providing, the protection for this gentleman as well.
They need some help up front. Number one, I think that, and they'll have to look to the draft this year to get that. The Bengals historically never really get great free agents, to want to go play in Cincinnati. That might change because Burrow has got a real good head start to his career, and people like playing with great quarterbacks. I think they got to look to the offensive line. He has been sacked, I think, second most times in the NFL this year. Some of that probably is because he's a rookie, but he's mobile too and has got out of some stuff. I mean, so I think they can improve there. Mixon has been hurt too lately. That's going to help him. That run game, that run threat, that dual threat running back. I mean, that always is like gold for a quarterback. I think the sky's the limit for Burrow. He just needs some help on the offensive line so that everything kind of solidifies, that offensive unit for the next few years. They can get better there on the offensive line.
Yeah, I forgot about that stat. He's coming close to David Carr's numbers in the sense of the sack department from back in the day. Go ahead.
I said him and Wentz.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, golly, the Eagles. My God, they can't block nobody. I wanted, last time you were on the show, I think I was a little tough, and we scrutinized Mayfield a little bit. Is Baker now taking his game to the next level? Because it looks like he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely made strides this year, and I think Stefanski is doing a good job there, the new head coach, giving them really a new lease on life too. I mean, done a bang-up job, turning some positives over for the ball club, really. I mean, they've got a bye week this week. Houston at home next week. They're 5-3. They'll be favorites. They could go to 6-3, which is a big improvement. I mean, a massive improvement from a year ago. Defensively, the Browns give up a lot. So Mayfield's always having to produce points and put points on the board. And so his numbers are pretty good. He throws for a lot of yards, but losing Odell Beckham is a big hit for him too, because he's out for the remainder of the year. Can they kind of bring that thing together offensively without Odell and that other big time receiving threat out there. But he's using the tight ends. The run game's been good, and that's always good for a young quarterback.
Yeah, I really like what Stefanski was doing. You got, wide receivers throwing touchdown passes. You got Odell running end arounds to the house. At least they were making it fun, right? I think that sometimes some of these coaches, it is about the X and O's, but you want to have these guys to have fun. I mean, they're all super athletes. Everybody wants to score. Everybody wants to dance. And I think that for the culture that the Browns have been for a while, it looks like the sun is starting to shine a little bit in Cleveland.
I think so. When was the last time we've really cared about the Browns and Bengals? And now we're watching them, or we're looking forward to some of these ball games and keeping up with some of these players. And Burrow and Mayfield are two of those. So I mean, I think they definitely are making strides there. They're gonna have to do something at receiver if Odell doesn't come back next year to the Browns. They're gonna have to do something to really help themselves. But it's a football loving city, and if they get hot, the city's gonna get behind them, and then look out. It's just they haven't been able to get over that hump in 20 years. I mean, I was on the last Browns playoff team in 2002. We lost to the Steelers in the wild card game at Heinz Field, but it's been 18 years since they've been at the playoffs. So hopefully they can have some real positives at the end of this year, and that will carry them through the next few years with this young quarterback. Mayfield's doing a good job. He ain't going nowhere.
You know what's crazy? That those poor guys are in a division with the Ravens and the Steelers, and all of a sudden the AFC, North looks phenomenal. I mean, Ben is looking great. Lamar, for the most part, they win the games they're supposed to win, and now you got these two young guys in there getting it done, making it happen. It's really exciting.
It really is. They got, Roethlisberger is probably going to be the comeback player of the year. He's had a phenomenal start. That defense is giving him a real advantage too. They give him the ball back an absolute ton, and the Steelers are for real. I mean, they might be the top two teams in the league, the top three, in my opinion. And, going on the road and winning against Baltimore was huge for them last week. And Roethlisberger doesn't look like he's missed a step. And they've got good receivers, good runners, good offensive line. They play great on defense, man. I wouldn't want to go play the Steelers if I'm anybody, to be honest with you, because with Roethlisberger back there and that experience, he gives them a chance to win the big one every time he goes out there. There's just certain quarterbacks that you really don't want to have to play nut cutting time, and he's one of them. You wouldn't want to have to face him in the playoffs.
I got to say, that organization is just tip top, whether it's having 3 head coaches in 70 years, whether it's continually producing phenomenal players. Their scouting department finds the best receivers in I don't know where. I mean, every year they got a new guy. This year is Claypool. A few years ago it was Brown. A few years ago before that it was Plexico. I mean, they just get guys done, and they get addition by subtraction. The team ever actually gets better when guys go away. And I gotta say this: Minkah Fitzpatrick to me is hands down one of the best safeties in the league, and TJ, I can't believe he might be just as dangerous as his brother. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Might be faster and quicker off. I mean, J.J. Watt is
a house,
a monster. I mean, he's I'm not taking anything away from him.
For sure not.
He can really fly off the edge, and he gives him a real, pass rushing threat. And he's tough as nails. I mean, both those kids are. Both those Watt kids are. I love watching the Steelers play. Week in, week out, you're right, with the receiving groups through the years, they've just always come up big, and it's been no different this year. They're mixing it up, and when you got a guy like Roethlisberger back there, you're always going to be in the game.
I know it's going to be sad when, he goes to pasture. Speaking of going to pasture, I'm excited. I don't think we've ever seen this in the last, let's say, 10, 20 years. We have so many young, amazing quarterbacks, whether it's Murray, who kudos to you for getting that right. This kid is unbelievable. You got Tua now entering. You got Mayfield. You got Burrow. You got Holmes. You got Jackson. I mean, if you were looking for a blueprint on how to get a quarterback and how to mentor these guys, wow, we are very, very lucky. This is just unreal. The pool, and then to throw it into. I mean, we're gonna get potentially Trevor Lawrence in the mix next season. Wow, the NFL has really figured out how to nail on these quarterbacks, man.
It's really impressive what they're doing, and doing it well fast. Like being rookies and second year guys and third year guys, and really just seeing their progressions. As a player. I mean, it's the run pass option stuff is great, and the spread's great for their numbers, and the rule changes in the NFL protect these guys, so they feel pretty comfortable back there. But Burrow, even Allen. We didn't mention Allen's a
Right,
great
another guy.
Justin Fields is going to be unbelievable. I think. I mean, I think there's about 10 of them in the next 5 years that have just absolutely taken this league by storm, and it's fun to watch. And Fields and Lawrence are going to be spectacular at the next level. They got the size, the speed, the head, the mental makeup, the arm strength, the accuracy. But yeah, I love this young group of quarterbacks. Kyler Murray,
Wow.
He's been so impressive. I can't even tell you how impressed I am with that guy. Just he's got a lot. He brings a lot.
I thought Russell and Breeze were short. This guy is getting it done. He knows when to bail, when to stay, how to roll, how to throw extra. I think Hopkins is making him step his game up to another level. Their timing is ridiculous. And think about it. They're not even executing with Fitzgerald the way they should be. I mean, that team should be scoring 40 every week. They're that good with him with his hands on the steering wheel.
When you get a guy like Hopkins to come into your organization and you're the quarterback, I mean, how good does that feel?
I'd be happy as hell.
Up that next day after we signed him and been the happiest guy on the planet. I mean, you already got Fitzgerald, sure-handed as heck. Christian Kirk is a great player. He's a way above average receiver, and then you add the best receiver maybe in the game, top 4. I mean, the guys Hopkins is unbelievable. Then you got instant offense. It's like adding Durant when you got Curry and Klay Thompson. It's like, holy cow, they just went from a good team to a really good offensive team, and one that can put 35 up on you in a heartbeat, and they can hang it up on you in a heartbeat. So they're fun to watch. This Murray can do so much. They're never going to be out of a game either.
Yeah. Speaking about guys elevating their game, and I wanted to get to you to this because I know you watch and analyze everybody. And I hate this word that I'm going to use, but is Lamar regressing a little bit, or is it because some of the guys are not 100%? You don't have Ingram back there. It seems like he's a little dinged up in his knee. The tight end Andrews has been a little dinged up. They're still explosive, but when they have to play other teams, I mean, I think they played better against the Steelers this week. But when Jackson has faced adversity, it hasn't been the best formula on the output of it.
Yeah, I think people are understanding. It's a copycat league too, so people are understanding a little bit more about how to stop that particular offense and that style, because they've never seen it really before last year at that level, and now they had a whole year to prepare for how are we going to defend this. Coaches sit around and talk. That's all they do, sit around and game plan and watch film and see how other people might have stopped him on first down or third down, or what their tendencies are. There's just so much to the game, right? It's a big chess match. So and then when they get behind, he's not a real thrower and reader of like progressions in a passing scheme. So it's like you kind of have him behind the 8 ball, right? And he's going to have to learn how to be a really good passer and go through his reads to really be superstar dual threat quarterback. Right now he can throw it. If the guy's open, boy, he can hit it because he's got a great arm. He's sharp and all that. He his feet are in the right place. He's on time, all that. It's just when he's got to go down the field, moving the chains, playing from behind, he's in a little bit of trouble because that's not what their offense is based or is about or based on. It's like a culture that you've created, right? Every team's got a culture. Their culture is not spread them out and beat you down the field, getting first downs, throwing the football like a Tom Brady team. So it's like he's a different type of player. You better stay ahead. You better run the ball and pound it and play good defense, and he's going to get you some big plays. But it's kind of got to be in that nucleus of how that culture they've created.
No, I totally agree. When you watch guys like the Mahomes and the Murrays, they get it. They understand the depths and the yardage and the first downs. It just seems like, listen, if I had wheels like that, I'd be trying to run every down too. The guy's sensational.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Michael Vick. I
Correct.
played
Yes.
Michael. He was actually in my draft, first picked overall. And I mean, we saw it even at Virginia Tech. You knew he wasn't Peyton Manning coming out of college. You knew he was going to run. He was going to be athletic. He was going to get out of jams. He was going to beat you with his legs. He was going to pick up first downs. But could he really lead you down the field if it was passing situations or if it was third and long? And, you kind of got to read out a defense. He was going to get beat more than not coming into the league. He became a great player and a pretty darn good passer. Lamar is going to gain experience and get better and better. But right now, being so young, he hadn't had all those experiences. So if you get ahead of him, I like the defense's chances. If you're not ahead of him, then I really
Watch
like
out.
Lamar. So dynamic, yeah.
So speaking about getting ahead, because I know that this is my favorite guy, and I'm happy that it's your favorite guy. This guy's still crushing. Tom Brady, just perfection. Okay? I mean, it doesn't matter. They could be down 20 points. They could be down 20 points on the road. What Byron Leftwich, Bruce Arians, and Tom Brady are doing, I mean, it's just unreal. And then you give this guy Antonio Brown again? My gosh.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he hadn't thrown a pick, I think, in the last 5 or 6 ball games.
Jesus.
Looks like he's back as a real threat, a legitimate threat in the pass game, which is great because you knew it was going to take him a month to get back into the swing of things. New offense that Brady had to learn. He looks like he's comfortable. There's some passes that were off a little bit last week against New York early, but he's never really had a lot of success against the Giants. You can tell he's frustrated at times when they don't just move the ball up and down the field because they have so many weapons. And it's like one little thing or another early in that game last week that kind of put them behind the 8 ball. But they finally got on track, and you can see how strong they are. That second half, they put up a ton of points and, kind of ran right by the Giants. The Giants had the turnovers. Jones threw the picks. But I just like the addition of AB is just going to be insane. Godwin wasn't playing this week, which is, I think, a big hit to their offense.
Agreed.
They'll get him for weeks, and then this thing is going to look like, a Pro Bowl lineup. It is a Pro Bowl lineup. So, I mean, Bruce Arians has got this thing rocking, and if everybody stays healthy, I wouldn't want to play them either. I mean, they're like the Steelers and the Chiefs. I don't want to play any of those 3 teams.
And they look like they woke up the fantasy zombie called Rob Gronkowski, because if this guy starts putting his mitts on balls, forget about it, bro. It's over.
He's my favorite player, not named Brady. But I mean, just watch, just because he's done it for so long. I just like how hard-nosed he is. He's a great run blocker. He's not selfish whatsoever. It doesn't matter if he catches 1 ball or 10. I love his.
He's the complete tight end right now.
What?
I said he's the complete tight end right now. Blocks.
He's unbelievable.
Doesn't care if we catch in 10 balls or 1 ball. Just same demeanor on the line. Just amazing. And it's weird, right? Because you would think this party animal guy would be really hard to corral in the stable, and yet he's dialed.
He's a real thinker, I think, and everybody thinks he's just this big goofball donkey. The guy he's unbelievable because he does set himself up. Even how he lines up and how he gets into his routes. I mean, he had a really good seam ball that they threw to him for like 20 yards in the game, but he does a good job with looking like it's a run play, coming out of it, getting himself open, finding space. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are happening, but he's got so much experience and working with Tom for all those years. I mean, it just looks like they're back on that same page that they were always on in New England. It's so fun to watch, but everybody knows he's a special player.
I know that, we got all the LSU love and New Orleans is a great city, great town. What's going on with the Saints, man? Is Drew Brees, is the arm action kind of deteriorating? I mean, I watched them. Granted, they don't have no Michael Thomas, so we don't really know how they should be stretching the field, but they seem kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think the loss of wide receiver play has been an issue. I mean, Alvin Kamara can't do everything. I mean, the guy's we call him. Me and my brothers will sit around watching. We're like, that guy's a Lambo. I mean, he's a Lambo in a league of all-star. I mean, NFL guys. I mean, he looks like he's playing a different game. I guess Alvin Kamara might be the best running back I've ever seen, to be honest with you. That is a multiple type of down back where he catch the ball, run the ball, screens, gadgets, up the field, deep throws, wheel routes. I mean, he's unbelievable.
Unreal.
And space. And so I think right now Breeze is so reliant on Alvin Kamara and what he can do that he's got away from some of the things that they do with Michael Thomas or a good receiving core. And yeah, Breeze is getting older. He never really had an absolute cannon. He just put the ball on the money, and he was perfect in Sean Payton's offense, still is. He's run it to absolute perfection for a decade or so. And so he's going to be fine if he can get Michael Thomas back and they can start, once you have a guy like that takes two defenders away, everything else opens up. And it's just that one guy. It's like if Kyler Murray didn't have Hopkins, he had an older Fitzgerald and a Christian Kirk, but he didn't have Hopkins, then they're not so dynamic. You know what I'm saying? And so it was going to take a good team back to being a great team once Thomas is healthy and they get on the same page.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I mean, I said it yesterday on Twitter. Watching Kamara is just unbelievable. They already have the guys. Hopefully they could resolve whatever issues, because you can't be punching guys unless you're Michael Jordan. You can't be punching your teammates.
only the GOAT can do that. But I would want Michael Thomas on my team because he is
For
one heck of a player. But yeah, I mean, he's like AB. I mean, these receivers, sometimes they get a little out there. I mean, you know what you're going to get. They're eccentric. They're going to get a little out there. They're not always perfect. I mean, look at history. Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin, the playmakers. I mean, these guys are –
Brandon Marshall.
What their strength is sometimes their weakness, right? And so you got to give them a real opportunity to bounce back. And Michael Thomas is going to bounce back. He's a phenomenal player.
He was quietly making, an argument for one of the best receivers in the league, up into this season. And that's what got him paid. So hopefully they could get it back. I wanted to put your GM hat / coach hat and just talk to me so I could feel a little bit better. What is going on in New York? Have you seen a worse dumpster fire from a franchise standpoint? I mean, the Browns, the Jags, Tennessee was hanging around there for a little bit. The Lions seem to hang around there a little bit. But now they got the addition of the New York Jets. The New York Jets are just really bad.
Yeah, you would think in a big market that they would, a big market team would never get this bad. Now, teams go through cycles. They lose superstars, but they had Le'Veon Bell there this year. Nothing happened with him. They got Sam Darnold, who's, supposed to be a superstar in the making. And offensive line issues have been big. Culture issues. They don't know how to win. They don't really run the football well. They don't. Then they go up against a good defense. I mean, last year that was a nightmare game for Sam when he played New England and he saw ghosts. I mean, so there's all these little negative things happening all the time, every other week, every week. It's like, they're down big. They're not covering spreads. I mean, and they're in New York, so the press is on them. Just think about how that snowballs just every week and just pours in. Adam Gase is not any good. It's like all these things. So very hard to overcome. Unless you got, 4 or 5 players on offense and 4 or 5 players on defense that can grab the bull by the complete horns and change the whole culture. And that starts with the head coach. And Adam Gase is not a culture changer, in my opinion. I've known Adam since I was at LSU. He was a GA when I was at LSU with Nick Saban. He was in the room with me all the time. One of the smartest guys ever, technical, a techie kind of guy, but he's not a real leader of men, a field general. And so I think there might be something lacking there. Maybe he would be a great coordinator, but being a head coach in New York, having to face all that's a lot on a coach, that really has not had any success in his prior coaching lifetime as a head coach. So that's a very difficult situation.
I know that this is going to be crazy, but I just wanted to ask. There's no way they go winless, right?
They could. I mean, tanking for Trevor. I mean, we were talking about Trevor Lawrence. They could, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'd have to look at their schedule a little closer and see if
they got some tough games, man. They got some tough games. They got to play the Rams on the road. They got to play the Chargers on the road. I think they got to. It's not looking good. They got to play Seattle. I think maybe on the road too. They got a bunch of games that are not looking good for them.
They don't play East teams.
yeah, they play. But look, this week I think they play New England, right? And is this going to be the bounce back game for Cam? Because I'm sure he's looking to cook too. I mean, Game 1, week 2, the Patriots actually look solidified with Cam at at the steering wheel.
They
But
can't score points. I mean,
right,
that's their problem. But neither can the Jets. I mean, this could be a nail biter. They need to play an NFC East team and hopefully catch the Giants on a bad day, or catch the Redskins on a bad day,
I
and
know
or
for
catch the
real.
Eagles, Cowboys. I mean, that division's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane how bad the East is. I wanted to ask you. So let's say if you were, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of different fans, and you got Darnold. Do you take it? Do you go into the if you get the overall first round pick? Do you try to trade back because you have so many holes and you don't have those 8 or 9 guys you're talking about on both sides of the ball? When instead you're going to get another quarterback and might ruin him. And now there's no offensive line, there's no defense, there's really no players. I mean, that's going to be tough.
It is. I wouldn't. Me, I'm not passing on Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
He's a once-time guy, and I know I would think about 3/4 of GMs would probably say the same thing, because we've seen him, as a freshman win a national championship, as a sophomore go to the national championship and only get beat. They were ahead of LSU in that game, and LSU had 15 drafted guys. I mean, 83 touchdowns and 14 INTs. Just been completely phenomenal through the 3 years. Never really missed a beat. Never saw him struggle to a point where you're like, yeah, he's mortal. I mean, the guy has just been incredible. 6'6", Gazelle, ran the ball well against Ohio State in the playoffs last year. Was incredible. I mean, he's an Andrew Luck. He's a Peyton Manning. He's a John Elway. He's a whatever you want to call it. I mean, you just don't pass on guys like that. Darnold, there was always a question mark. Should we go with this guy or another guy? This is a number one guy, no doubt about it. And you got to take him. I don't care. That's how you change a culture. You could maybe trade him for 4 or 5 guys, but when you get that one centerpiece that is the baddest dude on the planet, you got to go get him. And that it wouldn't make sense for me to pass up on him, because I'm a quarterback guy, and the league now is a passing friendly league. I got to go get that guy. And then I got to build around him, and then people are going to want to come because he's going to show some promise the first year, like Burrow's showing. And even though Cincinnati's a harder place to get free agents, you can actually get a free agent to come to New York, and it's showtime. So it's a little easier to build there than in Cincinnati from a free agent perspective.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I know you're busy and you got to go get to your golf game and do all these amazing things that you normally do. But I wanted to ask you one more question, being from the college situation. Andrew Luck stood an extra year because he didn't want to get drafted by whoever. Manning, Eli said, "Dad, get me the heck out of San Diego." Lawrence already declared that he's coming to the NFL. So if the Jets are the worst team, they're going to get him. But is there a consensus that a lot of people don't talk about, that some of these bigger, name marquee guys, they got people in their camp and saying, hey, you might not want to play in Cleveland. You might not want to play in Jacksonville. You might not want to play now in New York. Are people thinking about that? And is that a message that's kind of passed around that we don't, the average Joes don't get a whiff at?
Sure. There's certain franchises like Eli he didn't want to get drafted by San Diego. He wanted to go to a big market team. They designed the thing for him to go to New York, and the trade or whatever happened. And so, John Elway, same thing. He didn't want to go to Indianapolis, so he went to play baseball, and then he ended up with Bronco, and it's football country. So it's like, it depends on the situation that's there. If I'm Lawrence and I'm saying, okay, is that Jets team and that Adam Gase and this bad offensive coordinator and this brutal offensive line, you got to play, and you got to put all the cards out on the table. But when you're the first pick and you played as well as you have in college, there's really not anything else to go back for. He's won a national championship. This year he got the COVID, so it probably took him out of the Heisman race. But he's pretty much done everything he could possibly do except win the Heisman, at the college level. So I mean, I'm going out 90% of the time, 99% of the time. I'm not coming back to college if I'm him. I'd love to be in New York. What a great market. A lot of opportunities there. It would have to be really bad from a coaching standpoint and offensive line standpoint for me to just shun those guys and say I'm going to stay around or demand a trade. Maybe he could demand a trade. That might be what I would do before I go back to college.
Well, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out. I always appreciate all the love and how awesome you are. You've been around so many amazing people, but let me tell you, you're one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. Thank you for always being just a guy, man. And I know that might not be the best way to say it, but you are an amazing, amazing character. Thank you so much, Josh, for coming on.
I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to be with you. You're great at what you do. Keep doing it, and you're doing it well, and it's fun to see. And yeah, thanks for having me on. Anytime for you, my man.
Thank you so much. Send love to the bro that you sharing the room, and tell Dad I said what's up, and hope you guys are enjoying it, man.
I will. You take care, my man.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch soon. Yes, sir. You take care, buddy. And by the way, I loved your costume outfit. Take it easy, big dog.
Yeah, we had fun, man. Holy cow. I still need rest from Halloween weekend.
Tell me about it. That was rough. It sucks getting older, huh? With 21, 22, you jump up and go to work the next day. Now you need 3 days to recover.
You are 21, 22. I'm 40. I don't know about that yet.
Well, thanks again, big dog. You take it easy, and we'll talk soon.
Be good, brother.
Yes, sir.
Love you, man.
Yes, sir. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe.